Hey, have you noticed how much everyone is producing right now? Some friends of mine reflected this back to me over brunch. Back in the spring, you do so much, is what they said. In my head, it wasn't that much, but in terms of output, I can't deny that some weeks, being on a roll, I was putting up posts in such a way that they, my engaged audience, would see a lot. The algorithms doing what they do, particularly on LinkedIn, will push the voice of people you engage with over and over again to the point that I personally dread opening the app on my iPad. I know that invariably I will see the same contacts, the same friends' work because I have liked it several times. The algorithm has a way of shoving things in our faces without us asking, or just as bad, removing things from view, making the time spent on their feed excruciatingly boring or enraging or both. So, more posts, more content, more messages, more presence, whatever that means at this point. A machine led system that decides who sees what in ways that don't necessarily serve us, or, let me correct, at least for me, no longer does. And underneath the algorithm, a light panic about invisibility is bubbling because the answer to not being seen, we're told, is to produce more. Not to produce means not being seen. Not being seen leads to irrelevance. If you seek to create connections online, this concerns you. Communication used to be a relationship and it has been turned into production. Here's the difference. When communication is a relationship, the question you ask before you write is, what wants to be said? Who am I speaking to? What do they need to hear about me, about this? When communication is production, the question becomes, what will get seen? How often do I need to post? How many likes am I going to get? How can I get more? How is this going to go viral? And I think often we are no longer asking the first questions. The attention economy has taught us to confuse output with impact, and AI only accelerates the confusion. If the point of communication is simply to feed the machines, we have already lost the human thread. And nowhere is this clearer than in the search for work right now. And I say this not because I'm looking for work, but because I'm concerned about the future of work. I have always been, and it was always one of the pillars of the MetaView, my newsletter. I care about what we express through what we do in life. And also as an avid reader, the slew of articles that I've pored over in the last 6 months alone depict a dire situation. So you send out the CV, the pitch, the carefully crafted post, and what comes back is silence or an automated rejection when you're lucky. And the advice that follows is produce more, be sharper, stand out, optimize your voice for the algorithm. We have turned the search for work, for clients, or an audience into a private performance of visibility. And the burden of being seen has been pushed entirely onto you, while the system itself becomes more silent, more opaque, more automated. And we're effectively at the service of the machines already. This is not communication. This is akin to shouting into a void that has been designed to say nothing back. And the image that came to my mind is Munch's scream. You know, that same distorted face, but held up to a phone, screaming into the darkness of the screen, reaching no one. And LinkedIn jumps to mind as the current wasteland where good quality posts go to die, just as the platform turns to influencers, a move that would have been unimaginable, at least to me, a couple of years ago. And if they're getting one thing right, is the recognition that voice matters. Even the machine is tired of platitudes. But so this is what I think gets lost. Writing and self-expression were never meant to be tools for visibility. Done with feeling, they help us think, remember, find meaning. And as I've written and said before, stories are how we learn to navigate life. That's how we help each other through the good and the bad and the murky. Now, down at the surface level, this becomes performative output. We give our time, our energy to platforms that concentrate our attention and capitalize it, a framing I owe to Josh Citarella. While it does very little for the person writing and even less for the person stuck behind their screen, eyes glazed over, scrolling past. And here's the truth about what we're actually after. I often say that what we want is not to become good communicators. What we want is on the other side of good communication. And what's on the other side is never the metric. We don't just want a large following on LinkedIn or wherever. We want people who care. We want people who repost, comment, come back, promote us to their friends. We want people who get us. And empty followers mean nothing. I saw a post recently, the kind I'm sure you've seen 100 times, that did everything right. Names were tagged in a display of public gratitude after an event. Lots of likes arrived and comments, and yet there was no voice in it anywhere. No opinion, nothing about what the writer saw, learned, or wondered, nothing another person could use to navigate by. The post worked as social currency, or you could say courtesy, which I find value in. But it didn't work as thought, and the feedback was positive, but it wasn't meaningful. And those are not the same thing. And we have stopped noticing the difference. And so I get it. I get the pressure, the need to work against that risk of not being seen as engaging enough. So before your next post, your next pitch, or your next carefully worded anything, here's one question I'd love for you to sit with. Does this deepen human contact, or does it only help me survive the algorithm? I'll make sure to keep asking myself that same question, because at the end of the day, we are in this together. Until next time.